If you can't even get your foot in the door, then you can't work for it. One of the main points of certification and supplier diversity is giving people the opportunity to show what they can do. Once they're in the door, it is up to them to demonstrate it, right? The reason people don't understand it is because human beings don't like change. And this is what happens in these big companies. They're asked, please go to the gym. Please talk to these diverse suppliers. Just check them out. And they're like, oh my God, they were amazing. But they would have never even given them the opportunity. Because if you don't think something's broken, you're not looking for a different solution.
Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson from Broadcast Your Authority. I'm super excited and grateful for the next episode that we're going to be introducing with Heather Cox. But I'm going to pass it over to my co-host, Rachel Martin, who's going to introduce Heather today.
Okay. Well, Heather, we're excited for you to be here. I'm going to share a bio with you. Heather Cox is a champion and a cheerleader for underestimated women entrepreneurs.
That?
I do too. I love that. Way to go. As president of Certify My Company, CMC, Heather works with both diverse businesses and corporations to increase visibility in supplier markets and connects certified businesses with the corporations eager to do business with them. I love that too. I love that you have that passion. Heather educates corporations about diversity practices and collaborates with managers of supplier diversity programs to help them reach their diversity goals, including a coveted seat at the $1 billion roundtable. She's a mom of 5, which, yes, that's awesome. And I'm also going to share that you were the diversity certified consultant for the last Super Bowl in Las Vegas.
That's amazing.
So that is awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah, way to go. So, Heather, I would love to hear your backstory.
Absolutely. So when I was pregnant with that first baby, right, I knew I had to work. So I was like, what am I going to do? But I was just interviewing women, whether it be executives, other entrepreneurs, part-time, full-time, whatever it was. And I wanted to know what their experience was as a working mom. And the entrepreneurs were fascinating. I loved their passion. I'd never thought about entrepreneurship ever. There was something about them. And it was the ones that were really selling business to business, that were really looking to kind of grow and scale their companies, that I was like, wow, you're so fascinating. So since I'm such a shy person, I asked them about a million other questions. And throughout the conversations, a few of them would say, ugh, and my client wants me to get this certification and I just can't get it done. So now in my head, I'm thinking, you run a $1 million, $10 million, $20 million company, whatever it was, you can't do an application? I just couldn't figure it out. So I went home. I always say my middle name is resourceful. So I went home, just Googled a bunch or looked a bunch of stuff, what was going on. And I was like, oh, I could do this for them. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I said, oh, I'll do that application for you. And then that one told that one and that one told that one. And then someone said, how about the minority certification? How about the LGBT certification? And I'm like, yes. And it's a lot of the same information. So I was able to translate the information from one application to another, and Certify My Company was born. And then a few years later, somebody introduced me as the expert. And I'm like, that I am. And I grabbed onto it, and that's when we started working with corporations to work with their supply chains, and kind of the rest is history. It's evolved a lot of different ways, but that's really how it started.
You're really helping people save time. Time and energy.
At least,
big time.
Yeah, minimum of about 22 hours we save our clients.
Well, we hired you for that, our WeBank certification. So women-owned business. So we're now a women-owned business. And that it was an incredible process to see how that is, because there's a lot of paperwork that goes through.
Right.
Then you have to refile and renew each year as well. And you help in that regard as well, right?
Yes.
So how many different certifications are out there that you actually help?
There are a plethora of certification options. They are not all created equal. So the first thing we do, and something I pride myself on and the company on, is that the first thing we always do is determine the right certification for their business and for them. Because people will come to me and say, I want XYZ. And I say, why? And they say, well, my friend told me to get it. That is not going to get them in the door of where they want to go. So we have to make sure it's the right certification for them and their business.
What's the most, why is it important for businesses to get certifications? What are the benefits of certification?
So there are a lot of benefits as well. Most people know about the business development, and often people think it's just government. They're always like, oh, so you do government work. Not at all. There's government work, there's private sector work. And, a lot of people are involved in both of those worlds. So it's important because it's access to opportunity. I want to be very clear. It is not a magic wand. $1 million contracts not going to rain from the sky as much as we would like them to.
Like access to directories, large directories events,
as well. But you can meet people face to face. The best part is you have an internal advocate that wants you to succeed. Their jobs are to find qualified, capable, certified, diverse suppliers to then bring in. Now, once you're in the door, you better sell like any other sale out there, right? You have to be just as competitively priced, just as qualified, if not more. But then at the end of the day, if it's you and someone else and they're like, wow, both these companies are so good. How are we going to choose? Oh, wait, this one's also certified. It just tips the scale in your favor. It's a differentiator against a different company, right? So that's really, and then there's also leadership development, company development. There's scholarships to go to executive MBA programs. There's mentorship programs. I was fortunate to take part in the Toyota mentorship program. My mentor was the CIO of Toyota North America.
That's amazing.
I mean, like, how often do you get the chance to be like, hey, CIO, right? I mean, that's who I sell to when I sell there. I sell to the C-suite. So I needed to get her perspective and she was amazing. And we did some things and I was like, Holly, these companies are like, Heather, you're amazing. I mean, we're not going to hire you, but you're fantastic. I'm like, what am I missing? Where's the gap between what I'm saying and what they need to hear? And so she worked with me on a video just for my corporate audience. And we were able to really work with her to understand what that suite needed to hear from us.
I think as women business owners, we all know it takes money to make money, but that's very intimidating. As a woman going into a bank and asking for a loan, the first question I get asked is, what are your qualifications? Oh, yeah. A man walks in, it's like, oh, that's such a cool concept.
I know.
And so especially women business owners, it's like, well, how do I raise capital? What does that look like? How do I ask for money from a bank? Right. Can you talk to us a little bit about how these certifications matter when you are going to apply for a loan or get money into your business?
So sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, right? So it just depends on there's some banks and there's our SBA loans that are, SBA loans are a little bit of a different topic. That's a whole different conversation, but they go through like a Wells Fargo or a Chase or something like that. But sometimes there are people who are looking to specifically support the women or minority or veteran-owned businesses because they understand that they have less access to the capital, to the infusion. There's also companies, there are minority-owned angel investors. There are women-owned angel investors that understand the struggle that these diverse entrepreneurs have, and they're looking to support within those demographics. So it's not always like, here's my certification, great, here's your loan. You still have to have all the qualifications. And that's what people don't understand. And they go, oh, you're just going to get the contract because you're a minority. Absolutely not. There is no guarantee. You have to be just as qualified. What it does is it shows a third party has vetted your company. They've already looked into your tax
returns. And to get your foot in the door.
And to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And how big of a company do you have to be? I mean, what if you're, what size?
Every size. Now, there's some size thresholds, some maximums for some state contracts or state certifications, I should say. But you can open the door. As long as you have one sale under your belt, you can technically get certified. Not all certifications, but a lot of them.
Because I was going to say, I think it's a misconception.
Oh, there's a lot of those
because
out
it's
there.
Like, oh, well, I'm not big enough to get a certification. Right. Oh, it won't matter to me if I get a certification.
Yep.
So you're saying that really it helps any business that wants to
business to business, right? And actually when I do webinars or presentations, one of the slides is the myths, debunking the myths, because there's so many myths out there. And it's really half of what I do is educate people because they just don't know what it is.
So could you give us the 3 top myths?
So what some of my favorites are, which I just said, I don't want to get a contract just because I'm a woman or LGBT. And I'm always like, good, because you won't. The second one is, it won't work for my business. And I always analogize it to a hammer. A hammer can take out a nail, it can put in a nail, it can open a nut, it can take care of a mean husband, whatever you need it to do for you.
Right.
The hammer is a really powerful tool. So the question's not like, is it a good tool? It's how will the tool work for me?
Yeah.
Right. And then the third one is my contact doesn't care about it, or my clients don't care about it. No, the person you're talking to in that company doesn't care about it. But they'll say like, oh, NBC Universal doesn't care about it. Really? Because they spend over $1 billion a year with certified diverse suppliers. I'm pretty sure they care about it just because the person you're talking to. So those are some of the top 3 myths we hear a lot.
So let's say you get certified and so you belong to different, there's different access points for you or different catalogs. I think you were talking about directories and things like that. Are you invited to associations or conferences, or how does that work?
So I'm going to focus on the private sector certifications just because they are the easiest to talk about in a sense, right? So let's
How many sectors are there?
So there's five main demographics, right? So there's women, ethnic minorities, which is Black, Asian, Indian, Asian Pacific, Native American, and Hispanic. There's LGBTQ. There's veteran and service disabled veteran. And then there's the disability owned. And I always take a second to talk about disability owned. I don't know if I did this to you. It's like a usual tangent that I go on afterwards. But people assume for disability owned business enterprises, it means you can't see, hear, and walk. When in actuality, it's anything that requires management. So the ADA defines a disability as something that takes management to live your life, quote unquote, normally. That's everything from thyroid conditions, sleep apnea, ADHD, anxiety, depression, autoimmune disorders. People say that and they go, how's that a disability? Well, think about sleep apnea. I don't know if you've ever had it yourself or slept next to somebody who has it, right?
Yeah, little machine,
the CPAP. If you don't use your CPAP machine, the next day, you're not so functioning.
Yeah.
Give it 2 days, 3 days, your organs can actually be affected. You can sink into a depression. You need that mechanism to manage your sleep apnea so you can function on a day-to-day basis, which is why it is. So, and actually the Disability and Conference is here next week in Vegas.
That's awesome.
Which is really cool. And it's really an unbelievable organization. So those are the 5 main demographics, right?
Wow.
Women, ethnic minority, LGBT, veteran, and disability-owned businesses. There's private sector certifications for each of those demographics. And those are the ones where you get access to the directories of corporations who value diverse suppliers. You can find other diverse suppliers to work with, right? So like I'm a certified women and disability-owned business. Tamara's a certified woman, and do you have the
women in WeBank? Yeah,
WeBank, yeah.
Well, the one thing that I've noticed about that though too is a lot of people I've met in the WeBank community. A lot of them literally state like they don't want to do business with anyone else other than who's in the community.
Oh,
you know, they trust you. It's a level of trust, right? They're like, community, exactly. And you can, and it's like a warm introduction,
right? All right, Heather, I have a question for you.
Okay,
because in the beginning you said. Someone said you're the expert. And I love that you're like, I am. I'm owning it.
Right.
So I love that because you exude, I'm the expert. I know it. You have this passion. So I'm curious where this passion came from. What about where that root is? And then what's the next thing you're going to do? Like with it, what are the next goals?
So, it's really funny. So kind of what you said, Caitlin. So not too long after someone called me the expert, I read this article and this guy said, someone asked this man, how did he become an expert? He said, I just started calling myself an expert.
Right.
And I was like, wow, all right. I mean, someone else called me the expert, so I'm definitely owning it now, right?
Certified expert.
Put it on LinkedIn.
Certified expert.
But you do have so much passion, and it really comes across, and you really have a drive to help women not only get in the financial front seat, but get their company in the driver's seat of visibility.
Right.
Where did that come from?
It's not only women. Just to be very clear, it's not only women. We do support all the different demographics, and especially like when we got our disability in certification, it was just the same year that my oldest daughter got an autism diagnosis, and I knew there was something wrong. Everyone told me it was my parenting, like you're parenting bad. That's why she acts that way. I'm like, look, there's 4 other ones who don't do this. So
I get it.
Right. Okay. So, and it was right around that same time. And I started learning about the internal, like there's organizations for like autism at work. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Like and I really was very like moved by that whole thing. So then I thought, oh my gosh, when I found out I was actually eligible for the certification because of an autoimmune disease, I said, now I can advocate for my own community and I can be an ally for the own community. And where it comes from, I really think, my mom was, I remember I used to perform in the circus, right? And
she's acting like we know that, right?
Like,
she's like, oh, I
said, I did this. Was on the trapeze, swimming back and forth.
I mean, she's just like throwing that out.
Like, what did you do in the circus?
Cue The Greatest Showman.
This is me. So tightrope and unicycle, acro gymnastics, juggling, right? So all the things, all the normal things. Tightrope, yeah.
With the unicycle on it?
I didn't do that, but I did do splits on the tightrope one time.
That's amazing.
Okay, so but when I was younger, when I first started at 6, 7 years old, there was an aerial act. Now I'm telling you, in my brain, it's 30 feet in the air. It's probably 10 feet in the air. But in my brain, my 6-year-old brain, it was 30 feet in the air.
Right.
And they had cuts. Like this is before you participate, you get to do it. No, this is like you do it or you're out. Yeah. Right? I'm that generation. Like you do it or you're out. And so I would cry every practice because I hated the heights. And they said to my mom, she's gonna do it or she's gonna be cut. And she's like, fine, cut her. If she's not good enough, she's out of there, right? So my mom was never one to be like, you just get what you get. Like you have to work for it, but it has to, like, if you can't even get your foot in the door, then you can't work for it.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. Not all, but one of the main points of certification and supplier diversity is giving people the opportunity to show what they can do. Once they're in the door, it is up to them to demonstrate it, right? But if you never get yourself in the door, the reason people don't understand it is because human beings don't like change. It's just a matter of fact, right? Nobody wakes up. We talked about like the gym a little while ago, right? Like nobody wakes up and goes, you know what I want to do today? I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. and get really sweaty.
Right.
And then for 2 weeks, be super sore. Like that sounds so fun to me, right? Nobody does that. They do it because the doctor says you're overweight or your pants don't fit right or whatever it is. And this is what happens in these big companies. They're asked, please go to the gym. Please talk to these diverse suppliers and just check them out. And they're like, oh my God, they were amazing. But they would have never even given them the opportunity. Because if you don't think something's broken, you're not looking for a different solution.
So true.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. So it just sounds like that if somebody comes to you, that you are really going to help them get their foot in the door. That's what I keep on hearing. And I can't imagine everybody doesn't need to beat a path to your door.
Right. Everybody does need a path to the door, obviously. But, it's really not just helping them. Like they're helping themselves. What we're doing is we are educating them on different pathways to get to where they want to be. Now, I will tell you though, it is one of our company like core values is that we support diversity in both our personal and professional life. So when I'm going to, like, if I'm going to buy something, if I'm going to buy a natural deodorant, I'm going to buy Freedom Deodorant. It is a certified women-owned business. She's a Vegas local also, right? I'm going to buy her natural deodorant. It's excellent. And I know I'm supporting a woman-owned business. We all heard that old adage, you buy from a big company, you're buying a CEO a second home.
Yes.
When you buy from a woman-owned business or a minority-owned business, you're buying a little girl dance lessons, or you're adding another job to the economy, or you're, all the different things you're doing. I know I have so many amazing stories. We did like a 4-hour session here to talk about the amazing stories of how lives have been changed because people now had an opportunity to give it their all.
So how does it, so let's say I want to do it. I want to do it. So I call up your business. Hey, I want to get you
Don't call because I'll never answer I'm always on the phone. Right.
So how long does the process take? Is there, what do I have to do?
Well, you are definitely going to open the kimono wide open because they want to see everything in your business. Am I right? Yeah. So they have to look at financials, your governing documents, because it's not just ownership, right? It's actually ownership, operation, control, and independence.
Wow.
So you must be 51% or more owned, operated, and controlled by whatever the demographic is you're certifying, and be independent, meaning you can't say let's say you are an LGBT-owned business and your straight friend gives you their warehouse to use. Unless it's a legal lease and you can't, that's not independence. Because if they're like, we don't like you anymore, you no longer have a business, right? So that's that. So you're going to show all the documentation that proves the ownership, operation, control, and independence. From the time you submit, you're looking at about 90 to 120 days. Some states are up to 3 years. Don't get me started on them, right? And then, and they're going to do a site visit. They're going to come and they're going to interview you and make sure you really are who you say you are. Does the way you speak about your company match your documentation that you turned in? Are you really the person who you say you are in that document?
It sounds so intimidating.
But then you have me.
Well, I was just going to say that. Like everything,
they make you feel.
Everything you do makes you that expert. Like you are so powerfully confident about it. And if you don't know, you're like, I'm not going to leave it for somebody else to figure out. I'm just going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Which I think for all the people coming in, they're like, well, she's going to figure it out. I trust her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Got my back.
This is a really great topic because a lot of business owners, we're used to wearing a lot of hats. Oh, I can do that. I can do that. DIY it.
Outsource.
Business owners are the kings and queens of doing it themselves. And nobody gets to where they want to go alone. It is so, so important to have people on your team, have advocates. So for a business owner that's listening to this, is thinking, oh, I can do those applications. I can do it myself. What would you say to them in terms of why they should hire you?
So I'll answer this in 2 different ways. So I often get asked in interviews, like, what's your number one advice for entrepreneurs? And I always say, outsource to experts whenever possible. Because if you don't have time or money to do it once, you definitely don't have time or money to do it twice. The second thing is when they find out whatever our fee is, whatever, I say, take your hour, whatever your hour is worth to you, and multiply it by about 22, because that's the average we save our clients. And if it's more than our rate, then you're saving money. If it's less, then you should try to do it yourself. But just know, what could you do in 22 hours?
And is that per certification?
No, That's a whole different thing. But yeah, like it's the primary one, there's secondary, tertiary, whatever, because it's a lot of the same information. But you have to understand. So that's just the first certification is going to save you 22 hours. If you do additional ones, that's more hours that we're saving you. Right. And plus, think about it.
You also help with the renewal.
And we do the renewals as well, because you have to renew. Some of them are every year, some are every 3 years. And so we do the renewals. We also teach them how to use this very powerful tool. So they not, because again, people are like, I got certified and no one called me.
So let's talk about that. Because I think education is one thing, but what is often missing is application. Education is completely useless without application.
Correct.
Like, how do you turn sales into dollars?
Right.
And so talk to us about how you help business owners apply and market those certifications.
Caitlin, I would love to. So I'll tell you that.
Tell me more.
Tell me more.
So after like a decade, so the company's is about 14 years old now. So after a decade of people saying to me like, I don't know if I'm going to renew because I didn't get anything out of it. I would say, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And it would say, I didn't know I could. I didn't know I should. And so I realized there was a gap between what the certifying organizations, the corporations, and the entrepreneurs all know. And I was really looking for something to like send my clients to be like, can you teach them how to use it? And there are one-on-one consultants. It's great. It is much more cost intensive. And I'm, as someone with 5 kids and mine are 15 to 7, right? You can't always just take off whenever you want for classes, right? So, I mean, I try to as much as I possibly can, just so you know, but like you can't always just leave little ones, right? So I wanted to find an accessible educational program for them, but I couldn't find it. So what do we do, ladies? If we can't find a solution, we create it. So we created Diversity Masterminds. I kissed a few frogs as partners to find my partner for Diversity Masterminds. And then I found someone who I'd known for a decade already. She used to run one of the regions, and I just ran into her at a conference and I was like, Heather, what is wrong with you? She's like the perfect person for this. And so we created this educational program. It's available on demand and also like in person, not in person, but virtually, but cohort online. And it shows them exactly like how to leverage their local regional partner organizations and local affiliates, how to get in, how to find your target client, because you can walk in there and be like, hey, ex Fortune 100 company, I want to do business with you. And they're going to be like, you're not ready. Know if you're ready, because, and just so you know, if you mess it up, you can mess it up for a lot of people. So we want them to be ready when they get to the door. And so we want to show them how to make a capability statement, all these extra tools that you need to really give it your all and demonstrate that you're the right person, which conferences to go to. There is a lot of options. You can't do them all. So let's help you figure out how to choose them, the strategy behind it. We talk about differentiating yourself. And I'm going to give you pro tip right here. If I say, what's your differentiator? And you say customer service, what's that show?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's customer service is an expectation. It is not a differentiator. Why are you worth 5 cents more than anybody else who says they do what you do?
And that's real value. And I think, you know, that is what you do that's so different, is being able to not only help people get the certification the first time with the application, but also applying it into their business, but being an advocate, because in a world with so much information, I mean, it's never been easy. It's never been easier to make money, right? We can all make money, but how do we keep it, and how do we roll it back into the business effectively with the right people and the right partners? And I think that's what I'm hearing from you is, you know, hey, if you want to go 10x, you know, you're going to need partnership. You're going to need advocacy. Yeah.
And we love advocating for other companies. Like if people ask me, and then one of the things that we talk about is being a go-giver, right? There's that book, but also it's how if someone says, hey,
we had Bob Berg on the show last season. Yeah.
I like if someone says like, hey, Heather, do you do X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, you know what? I don't, but I know a really great company that does. I most likely get quote unquote nothing out of that introduction, but you know what I am now? I am top of mind for both of those people.
Right.
And they will always think like Heather has us, and like she wants the best for us too. Not just for herself. Like, yeah, I'm sure she wants to make money. She's got all those people on the feed, but she also wants us to be as successful as well. And so she's always going to refer us out. And there've been plenty of times that I'm like, you know what? I don't. And then I'll meet someone at that conference, be like, oh my God, I have to run you over. I just met you have to go meet them right now.
Right. So in the beginning, you said you had this like intrigue about entrepreneurs. Intrigue. Would you consider yourself that?
Intriguing?
Well, both.
If I say it like that, is
you have to say it more like, you have to do it like NPR. You're intriguing.
You're intriguing.
Yes. Wow, this conversation just took a new turn.
Intriguing, resourceful, circus experts.
I know. Acrobats.
I also use the word effervescent about myself a lot.
Yeah, that's a good word.
That is a good word.
Someone have a dictionary.
I know, right?
Can you do backflip?
I do. You know what it is? I think that entrepreneurs, I maybe because I didn't have a lot of it in my life before, like when I was as a child. But my mom was in fact an entrepreneur. Now that looking back, but like it was different when it's your parents know nothing, just like I know nothing to my kids, like nothing. Right? but like they are. I think it's just because they're so passionate and like they get so excited about what they're talking about. And I just know so many, and the things that they come up with. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that people come up with. I'm like, dude.
That's you.
I know.
It's totally you. I'm sitting here like you are describing yourself.
I know. Yeah. We don't see that all the time. Right? But I'm like, some of our clients, the things they've come up with, like we have this one client, she's like, it's called One with Swim. Because she was like, I always liked the way I look in my underwear, but never liked it in bathing suits. So she made a bathing suit that fits like underwear.
All right.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Wow. Like, it's just the way people think. I'm like, that's amazing. And I'm sure people go, wow, Heather, how did you think of that? And I'm like, I don't know, but you're way more amazing. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I also think I'm amazing, but no,
well, when is your book coming out? Because I can't wait to read your book and more about your story.
Actually, you know what's so funny? I would love to write a book, it's more of like stories of the clients I've worked with.
Do like case studies.
But I just need someone to download my brain.
They have ghostwriters.
They're called ghostwriters.
I need one of
they're all
those.
over the place.
And I have so many amazing. Some are super funny. Some are like, wow, that's such a cool story.
You love audio. Audible.
You should do a podcast.
Just dive into Audible, right?
Yeah, I need too, like hearing the story of learning about your daughter's diagnosis and that really fueling your desire and fire for finding different certifications for not only, diversity in business, but also disabilities in business. And some of the most successful people in the world are autistic, Elon Musk, so I think that's such a powerful part of your story.
Actually, one of a very large pharma Fortune 50 company one time told me their best tech provider is run by a man who sits under his desk all day long. And he said to me, if I would have just met him, I would have been like, this dude's weird.
Right.
There's no way I'm hired. But he said, I met him through the supplier diversity lens. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give him a shot. And he said, he blew the entire company away. He's so talented. But he sits under his desk all day long. Okay. So that's why sometimes you need a different access point. Because that guy's not getting a regular introduction. And like I think about with my daughter. Like,
not networking.
Right. And actually, I'm actually giving a networking presentation at the Disability and Conference for exactly that reason. Because people think you have to have a certain type of personality. It's just done differently. But like, I always think about like, if my daughter's going to go to an interview, she's not going to interview like I interview.
Right.
She's the weird kid in her class, right? She's very smart and she's very sweet, but she's not going to have a conversation like I am. And so it's just really important to give people a chance to be the best version of themselves.
So, it's interesting. And I don't know if this is what you do, but I'm curious now is finding and recruiting talent is very difficult. I don't know if anyone's tried to hire somebody lately, but it is very hard.
It is not fun.
And not fun. And lots of time-consuming things. But for somebody, a business owner listening to this, and they want more diversity in their workforce, they want people who think differently, is that something you can help them with as well?
No, but I know someone who does.
Okay.
Well, what would be the next step for those? Like, where would they go to find, so where do we sign up?
We're CertifyMyCompany.com. We're actually right in the middle of redoing our website, which is also a super fun process.
Yes, it is.
So is it being done by somebody in the network?
He is a minority and disability owned company. Yes, of course.
Yay.
And yes. And so it's CertifyMyCompany.com. We are Certify My Co. on all the social medias. You can reach out. And if you are interested, you can reach out and we can have a consultation. We
don't phone call.
Just don't email me first.
Email first.
Or you can schedule a time online, but or even just message me through one of the social media channels. But it is again, find out first if it's the right move for you, right? Because I am definitely someone who will say, I'll tell people it's not going to hurt your business, but I don't know if it's going to help your business, right? I'm very transparent because I am a business owner myself, and I do not want someone just to sell me on something.
That's right.
Right? I want to make sure it's effective. So that's the first conversation. But yes, please reach out, CertifyMyCompany.com. And I'd love to find out how we can support you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heather, for joining us today. And everyone that's watching, definitely go follow her, contact her and her team. They've done a great job for our company as well. So we've gone through a couple of different certifications, and we definitely recommend her and her team. So those of you that are watching this episode, please subscribe, comment, share the content. And I see you in the next episode.